what's up? So in today's video, I want to talk to you about what is, in my opinion, the best compact camera bag on the market right now that I know of anyway. And it's called the Freiburg by the German company Oberwert. And just as a quick word of caution straight away, it is incredibly expensive because this bag, at least here in Germany, comes in at just under 700 euros. That is steep. Luckily for me, however, I didn't actually have to pay for this bag because mine came courtesy of Oberwert. So full transparency first, Oberwert did send over this bag in exchange for a video. However, I am not getting paid for this video. They don't get to see this video before it's posted, and they don't have any say in the contents of this video. However, this is not a review because, just generally speaking, I don't like to review things that are got for free, and also because I did actually get an affiliate link as well as a discount code which you can use to get 10% off, and so I have a clear motive to just blatantly sell this to you, which is not what I'm trying here. But as far as I'm concerned, I would prefer it if you would think of this video as more sort of an infomercial or presentation or whatever. So with that stuff out of the way, let's get into it, and let's start by talking about this bag in a bit more detail first, because this is certainly the star of the show. And after that, I'm going to quickly walk you through the gear that I like to bring in this bag on a regular basis. As always, feel free to use the timestamps in the description below to skip around as you please. No hurt feelings. Okay, so this bag, the Freiburg, is named after the beautiful city of Freiburg in the very south of Germany. And as I've already mentioned, it is made by Oberwert here in Germany. And as you can see straight away, it is definitely a small camera bag. And if you know me, you know that this is my size of camera bag. So when Oberwert first approached me and they asked me if I was interested in trying out one of their bags, I had actually just posted a video comparing my two favorite compact camera bags of that time. And both in the comments of that video, as well as in some of the DMs that I received afterwards, people told me that I should give Oberwert a try and that I would love their bags. Now, I had heard of Oberwert before, but truth be told, their bags were always just sort of above my pay grade, if you like. And so when they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try out one of their bags, I said sure, and I asked them specifically to send over the Freiburg bag. Now, I really love this specific size of camera bag because I think it is just big enough to bring all of the essentials that I might need both in my everyday life as well as when I'm out traveling. And if I actually need to bring more stuff, this size of bag does keep me from overpacking, because I think there is a limit to how much weight you should carry just over one shoulder. So if I actually do need to bring more stuff, I will just use a backpack instead. In terms of the design, materials and build quality, this is where this bag really shines, as it should at that price point. Design, of course, is always very subjective and can be a bit of a touchy subject at times, so let's not fight about it. But in my opinion, this is the best looking camera bag on the market. If you know me and you know the kinds of bags that are featured on this channel, you know that this combo of green Cordura and dark brown leather is exactly down my alley. Now, at first I thought that I would have preferred it if they had used waxed canvas instead of Cordura. But truth be told, knowing what I know now, after just years of experience of carrying different sorts of waxed canvas bags and backpacks, I think they actually made the right choice going with Cordura on this bag. Cordura is incredibly durable and will look great even after years of hard use, whereas even high quality waxed canvas has a tendency to eventually wear out over time. Plus, aside from that, waxed canvas needs to be maintained. You need to re-wax it every now and again, at least if you want to have that sort of level of water resistance. And that's just not everyone's cup of tea. So I can certainly understand why they went with Cordura, and I'm certainly happy that they did, because now you do get the aesthetics and functionality of a more modern bag with the Cordura, as well as the more traditional appeal with all of that leather, because there is leather all over this bag. So the bottom is made from leather, which is great because generally speaking, that is where any bag will experience just the most wear. Then you have this big main flap, which is all leather on the top and again Cordura on the inside. Then there are these smaller leather flaps on the inside to make it just a bit harder for rain to get into your bag. There are leather reinforcements on the sides as well and all over the strap, and you get this thick leather pad for the shoulder strap as well. And while we're talking about the shoulder strap, I quickly want to mention just how nice it is to have a strap that is actually permanently attached to the bag. I know people seem to like detachable straps, but I find that a lot of them, especially when they are using that type of metal on metal clamp and D-ring mechanism, just have a terrible tendency to be super squeaky, which just gets really annoying over time. These buttons that are used to open and close the main lid are also just beautiful. You have to lift them up to get into the bag, and you can just pop them on there to shut this bag, and they are of course almost completely silent, which is what you want on a camera bag in my opinion, and there is no faffing around with any type of velcro or zippers. You also get 2 buttons to lock the lid in place, so you have a bit of wiggle room if you ever have to put something in here that would otherwise just be slightly too big. Overall, this mechanism is just very easy to use and also absolutely reliable. When this bag is closed, it stays closed. You also get the occasional Oberwert branding here and there, so that you don't forget how much money you've spent, but overall it's done in a very subtle and tasteful way and not over the top and in your face. And so yeah, it certainly looks fantastic, it feels fantastic, and also it is made almost entirely here in Germany, apart from a few minor details and things which are done in other parts of the EU. And so if you consider that, considering that they use leather from either southern Germany or Italy, and considering that everything, or at least almost the entire bag, is made here in Germany and the rest is made somewhere else in the EU, you kind of get an understanding for why this bag is as expensive as it is. Now, if you want to pay for this, that's certainly up to you, but I think this is a good reason for this bag to be this expensive. But with the build quality and materials out of the way, let's take a closer look at the layout and the features of this bag. So, when Oberwert first sent me this bag, it actually wasn't this one, but rather the old version of this bag, which looks almost identical, but they actually made a lot of changes for this newer version. I'm actually going to send the older version back to Oberwert after I'm done with this video, but I thought just in case some of you had the older version or maybe are just curious about it, it might be interesting to just compare the two and see what has changed from the older model to this newer one. So as far as I can tell, there are very few changes to the outside. Most noticeably for me, the stitching on the old one was done in this slightly brighter, almost orange or copper brown, whereas the stitching is more toned down and muted on this new version, which I actually prefer. Aside from that, there was this one loop on the outside of the old model, which the new one doesn't have. Apparently that loop was used so that you could hook some accessories to the outside of your bag, but I've never done that, so don't quote me on that. With the new one, you still get these latches on either side, which are leather reinforced and could also certainly be used to hook some things to your bag if that's what you're into. Like maybe some gloves or whatever, I don't know. So the main differences between the two versions are actually on the inside, because with the old bag you had a removable camera insert which was velcroed into place, whereas the new version is essentially just one big camera cube. There are of course benefits and drawbacks to both approaches. Now regular viewers will know that I have actually used the camera insert of my previous camera bag in my everyday backpack for a while, which made it super easy for me to move my camera gear from my camera bag into my backpack. Having everything in one place like that is actually very convenient. And the insert was also just very nicely done. It felt very high quality, looked nice, and had those lovely SD card slots stitched to the top of the insert. And also this very convenient little pocket on the outside, which I was able to fit a spare Leica Q2 battery into. So yeah, loved that. Another benefit of being able to remove the camera insert was that you could not only use the insert in a different bag or backpack, but you were also able to use the empty bag as just a regular messenger style bag for your everyday items. And even with the camera insert removed, you still had a few organizational features left, with that flat open pocket and a zippered pocket on the inside of the bag itself. The main drawback of this approach, however, was just the fact that this insert ended up offering very little space for your camera gear. And so, while it was still just about roomy enough to fit cameras like my Leica Q2 or my Fuji X100 VI in there, I was not able to fit my Sony a7 IV, which is by no means a big camera. So this old version would really only work if you are using a very compact rangefinder style camera, but if you're using some kind of SLR style of body, it just wouldn't fit. So with this new version, you get this padded main compartment with 2 dividers. These dividers have this wiggly top part, which is great because it allows for a bit of flexibility. So for example, you could keep a smaller lens on one side and then put a camera with another lens on top and have the grip of the camera rest on top of that wiggly part, which then acts as a lid to protect both your lens and the camera grip. And so this layout design actually allowed me to fit my Leica Q2, which is essentially a camera with the lens plus my favorite on-the-go vlog camera, the Sony ZV-E1, with the lens attached in here, and then another spare lens to round off the setup. So basically 2 bodies and 3 lenses in a bag this small. Good stuff. More on that later though. Aside from that, you do thankfully still get small flat pockets on the inside of the bag as well, which are also made from this soft and squishy material, so they can be used to store stuff like your filters or maybe even a pair of sunglasses. And the 2 leather SD card slots are now just sewn straight to the inside of this bag. Now the only pocket that is sadly missing is the one on the outside of the camera insert, which I was able to fit my spare Leica Q2 battery into. And so at first actually I thought that I would prefer the old style of this bag because generally speaking I like to have a camera insert because it just allows me to remove all of my camera gear and put it somewhere else and have everything in one place. That is super convenient. But after a few months of using both, I actually do prefer the newer version. It just allows me to bring more gear, and also I am very happy that they just integrated the camera insert into the bag instead of just making the camera bag bigger overall so that it could house a bigger camera insert, because I very much like just how compact this bag is. Just as a side note though, as far as I understand it, you can still buy the camera insert and use it even in this newer bag. And judging from the images on Oberwert's website, it looks almost exactly like the one you got with the old model, even though it looks like they have removed the extra pocket on the outside. But be that as it may, it is now more of an add-on if you like, since the new one is essentially just one big camera insert. But that's it for the main compartment. Aside from that, you also do get this wide open stash pocket on the front. It is big enough to keep some batteries in there, as well as maybe some lip balm, mints, your car keys and paper tissues. Or maybe instead of all of that, you can just keep your sunglasses in a protective case in there. You got them options. Lastly, you also do get a flat zippered pocket on the back side of this bag, which is always much appreciated. It's just a great place to store stuff like your passport, your wallet, maybe a little notebook and a pen of sorts and some kind of cloth, or maybe your iPhone, whatever it may be. Always appreciate having a zippered pocket on the back side of any messenger style bag. And with that, let's quickly talk about the gear that I like to carry in this bag. But in order to do that, you do need to understand when and why I'm using this bag. So there are essentially 2 types of use cases that I want a bag of this kind for. One is just as a small EDC bag that allows me to carry all of my daily essentials and a camera in the smallest and most compact form factor possible. The other use case is when we are traveling and we are on the go all day and I want to use something that is just lighter and most importantly more breathable than carrying a backpack all day. So in a more everyday sort of setting where I would just use this to go out with the family on an afternoon stroll or maybe to a cafe or to a restaurant, I would usually bring my Leica Q2 as my one and done photography camera, as well as my tiny Sony ZV-1 Mark II and the Sony Grip tripod with an Arca Swiss plate attached to the Sony and an Arca Swiss quick mount attached to the grip, just in case I want to record some vlog type video clips. Other than that, I would just pack a few spare batteries for my cameras and some daily essentials like a small Moleskine notebook and my beloved Kaweco Brass Lily pen, some lip balm, especially in the winter, some paper tissues and my sunglasses. And if we are out all day, I might just throw this small 5000 mAh magnetic power bank in here as well. Now when we're traveling or I'm out with the specific goal of shooting some stuff for this YouTube channel, I usually put a bigger emphasis on bringing a more serious camera for shooting video. And so in that case, I would still bring my Leica Q2 because it is by far my favorite camera of all times. But then I would also bring either the Sony ZV-E1 or the A7 IV as well to shoot video. Also, at least more recently, I like to throw my old faithful DJI Osmo Action, the first gen one, with a clip mount in there as well. The clip mount allows me to attach the Osmo Action straight to the strap of my Oberwert bag, which is super convenient to get that POV type of footage. In regards to the OG Osmo Action, I just love it for the type of POV photography video that I like to do, because the field of view on that camera is just a lot tighter than it is on all of the models that came after it. Now I do understand that having a wider field of view is better for most action cam type of things, but for this specific type of video, I genuinely prefer to have this more narrow field of view. Anyway, that's that, my friends. Overall, this is just a very high quality bag that I have no doubt will stand the test of time. It is probably way too expensive for most people out there, and that is fine because there are a lot of other great bags for far less money. But of all of the camera bags that I have tried over the years, this one, in my opinion, is genuinely the best. I think this is the best looking one. The size is just about perfect. It's dead silent, easy to get into, it feels high quality, it does have a bunch of clever features without being overly complicated. It also doesn't scream camera bag, and most people will have no idea how expensive this is. But you do get the occasional look or comment by someone who actually does recognize this as an Oberwert bag. So in summary, I'm just incredibly grateful that Oberwert decided to send this guy over to me, because truth be told, I don't think that I'm in the right pay grade to be able to afford this type of camera bag. With that being said though, now that I have one and I know what it's like to own it, I'm fairly certain that if I were to lose this guy or if it was stolen from me, that I would buy a new one in a heartbeat. It really is that kind of one and done exit bag, if you like, and I'm absolutely sure that it will be a long time before I will be on the lookout again for another small camera bag. And so if you have the kind of money to be able to afford a bag of this sort and you do want to treat yourself, do yourself a favor, use the link in the description below, and most importantly, use that coupon code to get 10% off. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was interesting to you. Thanks again to Oberwert for sending over this brilliant little bag, and I see you in another video next week. Until then, take care. Bye.